Hello, today we're going to show you how to do a recone job on a speaker, and we've had a lot of requests for this over the last few years from our customers, so we want to show you a complete video on this so you can really see the detail on how we disassemble a speaker that needs a recone service. And recone service is when we replace all the moving parts in the speaker. This particular model for today is going to be a JBL 2226. This is a 600 watt Pro speaker that JBL makes. It's a very common model that we see here in the store. And we're going to show you how to recone one today with our recone kit that we sell. And the recone kits come with a new cone. We have a new voice coil, spider as well. You get new dust cap for the center, lead wires, gaskets, and we give you a centering shim to go with the kit so that you can center the coil properly. We're going to show you how to do that. So we'll go into some great detail on how to take it apart properly, how to mark the old parts, assemble everything properly on the new parts. There's 4 types of adhesive we use for a recone kit. These are sold separately from our recone kits, but most of our customers purchase these if they don't have anything excuse me, if they don't have anything at home to use. They'll purchase the combo repair kit from us, which includes a high temperature epoxy for the voice coil, a black adhesive for the dust cap to the cone attachment, which is right in this area. We have a white vinyl dressing that goes on the fabric edge of the speaker that is applied as well. And then we have our clear adhesive that we use for attaching the surround and gasket to the frame, as well as the spider to the frame back here, which we'll show you when we get into details on the video. Now, to do these recone kits properly, you're going to need a few things in addition to what we sell with the kits. You're going to need a soldering iron of some sort, something like this. You'll need some solder to solder the lead wires to the terminal and to the cone feeds on the voice coil as well. You'll need a utility knife for cleaning. You'll need a screwdriver. You'll need a small economy paintbrush to help spread the adhesive onto the cone assembly when you're to that point. We'll show you that later in the video. We use a white pencil to kind of mark the eyelets on the cone. That's helpful to have, not necessary. We have a flashlight that we use to inspect our magnet gap. We'll show you how to clean that as well as part of the video. So there's a few things that you need to gather. We do use a signal generator here for testing the speaker when it's completed, but that's optional. You can use a regular audio amplifier and a signal from the amplifier with a CD, or you can go online and download a test tone right online for free from several sources if you want to do that as well for testing. If you do everything properly on the repair video as we show you, the speaker will turn out fine, and once you install it back in the cabinet, you can fire it up and you'll be good to go. So when we come back, we'll show you how that all works, and we'll get into it for you. Alright, so we're back on the JBL Recone for you today. All the other Recones, Electro Voice, Cerwin-Vega, RCF, they're all the same in their construction. We're just using a JBL 2226 in the example here for you today. You can see what this looks like on the back as well. Kind of turn that for the camera there. These are pretty common out there, and we see a lot of them in for service at the shop here at Simply Speakers, and we sell a lot of recone kits for them too. So we're going to show you basically what you want to do here. This has got some obvious damage here. The center cap is damaged, the cone has been damaged and punctured here. There's some tearing in the edge that's taken place, so this unit needs a full recone. The first thing we want to do when we clean this is you can use a retractable utility knife like this, or a regular utility knife like this works as well. I kind of like to use the retractable one so I can get in here and kind of work this edge. As we start up at the top of the cone assembly, right through the edge of the surround here, just kind of cut through that carefully all the way around like this to loosen this out of the frame. And at this point, you'll see that you can kind of bend this back and see the spider down beneath the area here. What I like to do is come in here, just pick a point anywhere along the dust cap area here at the top. Doesn't really matter where, because all this is going away. I'm just going to throw this all in the trash. We'll take the cone assembly out like this, alright, and get rid of that. Now you see we have left here the spider assembly. We have the gasket and surround here that needs to be cleaned. You can see the lead wires here that attach to the terminals. You cut through those, that's okay. Cut through that with a utility knife, or use your wire cutters to pull those back a little bit like this as well. Either way is fine on that. There's no hard and fast rules. It all works just the same. So this is what we have here now. The next thing I want to do is kind of remove what's left of this rotted dust cap like this. Okay, we'll take these pieces away and we'll discard those. Later on we'll be cleaning out all the magnet gap area and all the other little pieces from the frame here. But what I want to show you, which is pretty important here, is the original voice coil is here. You can kind of see through the area here of the voice coil. When you look in the former area here, it's see-through. You can kind of see where the old windings are in this area. And when you look at the new voice coil, same kind of thing here with the new coil. We've got the winding length here, we have the former height here, we have our lead out wires on the replacement voice coil here, and what we want to do is get an eyeball on the original coil as far as how far it sets in the magnet gap, okay? And we want to get a visual on that. You can kind of see here that it's very even, and it may be hard for the camera to pick up, but in this case the windings are just about a 1/16 of an inch above this inner pole piece on the magnet structure here. So what we'll do is we'll cut this away right around the outside of the spider, just like this. Alright, okay, and you can see the damage here that's occurred to the original voice coil. We have some scraping here that's occurred. We have some burning on the bottom of the coil. You can see by the darker indication on the wiring here where this unit was running hot from an amplifier either overdriving or an amplifier failure. Sometimes you'll get them and they're totally burnt all the way through. Sometimes the wire's coming right off of the former. So there's several different failure modes that you'll see on these depending on what type of damage has occurred to the speaker. In this case, obviously we have problems here, and that's why this unit came into us for a recone service. But you can also take a look here. By removing just a little piece of the spider. You want to have a pair of scissors handy here. I'm going to take just a little bit of this out, right through here. A little bit hard there. But what happens is if I take a little spot of that out of there and kind of set it back in, you may be able to kind of get a visual in there for the height of the voice coil. And that's what you want to look at. And in this case, we know on a JBL 2226 where the new coil is going to rest in the height of there. And we'll show you that when we come back after we get done cleaning everything. We'll show you how to set the height on there properly. But the next thing we want to do here now is we have some dirt and debris that's going to come into this magnet gap area. So you want to have a roll of masking tape handy to seal the gap area all the way around, just like this. And this is very important so that you don't introduce more foreign material into the magnet gap for the reconing. We'll clean what's in there here later, but the first thing we want to do is seal this once the cone assembly, the old cone assembly has been removed, as you can see there. Alright, so we'll put a couple little extra pieces of tape on this just to seal it up and make sure that everything is nice and tight. Okay, that's what you want. Alright, now we can continue cleaning without worrying about any other magnet particles, pieces of spider, glue, dust, dirt, and all the rest of it getting down in the magnet, which just makes cleaning the magnet gap out later a more difficult job. So we want to stay clean with it right up front, so that's very important to follow that trick there. Alright, so the next thing we'll do is we'll come in with our utility knife here, and we'll kind of just scrape, basically cutting away the old glue and spider from the frame. As you can see here, comes off pretty easy. Some will be a little trickier than others. Okay, there's what's left of that. You can see the frame here. Then I take my smaller utility knife, kind of come in here, kind of cut the inside of any of the old glue as well, right along the spider landing. That's what this area is called on the frame. Okay, so we kind of scrape that off. Come in here, there's a little bit of paint that comes up with it as well. That's normal and that's fine. Just want to get all the loose stuff off. If you're having trouble in this area, you can also soak the spider area on the frame with a little bit of lacquer thinner, and that'll soak in and kind of soften the old glue. If you have a difficult or a stubborn removal there, that's very helpful as well. In this case, we got lucky. We don't need to worry about it here. We'll scrape this all down, clean this up. Okay, and that's what you want there. Alright, that's the look you're after. We're going to also do the upper frame area here now. We'll use the same small knife as my preference, but you can use whatever you like. Kind of come in here and cut underneath the gasket, just like this. Just basically trimming away the old material, and you can see it starts to lift up there for you like that. You can hear the knife working in there. Okay, this is all garbage. This all goes away. Okay, we don't care about any of that. Any remnants that are left on the frame, come in and scrape those away just like this. Take your time with this part of it. Some will be harder than others, depending on the type of glue and how old the speaker is. And this one's coming apart fairly easy for us. A little bit of remnant there, we'll get rid of that. And that's the fabric, or what's left of the fabric surround of the old cone, coming up there for you, as you can see. If you need to use your heavier blade, you can. Some folks prefer to go that route with it. Whatever works for you is fine. So we'll come in, make sure we get all the extra glue off by running the inside of the frame landing here for the surround, just like this. Okay. And now we have a couple of things to look at here. We have the frame roughly cleaned and ready to go. All right. We need to remove the lead wires here from the terminal tabs on the frame here. We still need to do that. But this is what you're after here. We're going to come in here with either compressed air, blow this out, or a shop vac with a brush attachment on it works well also, like this. Suck all this stuff out of here like this. I won't show you that on the video because it's noisy, but we will get that done for you. Compressed air is nice if you have it. You can blow the compressed air through this area and blow all of this out as well. But we'll do the cleanup on that here in just a minute and show you. But what I'd like to do now is show you the lead wires, okay, and how we clean those up. This is where you need your soldering iron. Come in with your soldering iron tip here in this area. I'll try to turn it where the camera can see. You come in here and warm this area up with the soldering iron. Pull the old lead wire out. Keep the tip of the iron on there. If you have a solder sucker, those are helpful. They come in, they work very well to remove. Got the hole there, right there for the new lead wire to go in. That's what you're looking for. If you don't have a solder sucker or tool like that to remove the hot solder from the terminal, you can also wipe it with a damp cloth and work it a couple of times and it'll do the same thing for you. Okay? But that's what you're after right there. That way the new lead wires will go right in to the terminal holes on the frame and you'll be all set to go once we get ready to do that on the installation of the new coil. So that's what that looks like there. We're going to break away for a minute. We're going to shop vac all of this, clean this all up. We'll clean our table area here for you as well because we want a nice clean working environment when we install the new parts, okay, that are going to go in here like this. All right, so we'll get the cleanup done, then we'll come back, I'll remove the tape for you, I'll show you how to clean the magnet gap properly, and we can start installing the new parts. Alright, we're back. We just took a minute out from the video there to show you guys how to clean everything, and we wanted to clean our table area up and throw our old cone pieces away. We saved the voice coil cutout. Okay, that's important. Keep that for now. We're not done with that yet. Alright, so we just set that aside. We cleaned all the debris and dust off of the frame. It's ready to go. We have our tape covering our magnet gap here, keeping everything clean in there, but now it's time to remove the tape. Alright, so we'll take this tape off of here. Now that everything's kind of cleaned up around there, just peel this off and that goes right in the garbage. Okay. And there's our magnet gap. Okay, we have a gap all the way around here. This is called a tri-vent. This is a JBL feature on this particular speaker that allows better cooling of the voice coil during operation. Your speaker may or may not have this design depending on what model you're working on, so they're all a little bit different. This particular model 2226 does have that feature. Now, you want to just give a visual area, you know, kind of an eyeball visually to this area here to make sure the gap looks even to you. There are gap gauges that you can measure this with, but typically in 99% of the cases everything will be fine there. If you see that the magnet plate is moved over or locked up, that means the speaker's probably been dropped and the magnet plate is shifted. At that point, you may need to send it in to us to have us take it apart and recenter the magnet assembly for you for that service. That's something that we do in-house here at the shop. Now, if everything looks good like this, which it should, at this point we want to take the shop vac and hit this one more time just to make sure there's no pieces that we missed that are in there, little pieces of cone, paper, glue, spider from cutting out the old assembly. So that's pretty important. So I'm going to set this down like this. We'll throw our tape away and just real fast I'm going to run the shop vac here. It'll be a little bit noisy. You can also use compressed air in this area if you have it. If you don't, the shop vac with the brush attachment works fine, but we want to make sure that we have any loose pieces have been removed from the gap area here, just like this. You can see your tri-vent screens here that prevent the dirt and debris from entering from the backside on the frame on these as well, and that's important that that's all intact and in place for you. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is clean any debris from the magnet gap. Even though it kind of looks clean visually, we always run some masking tape through this area, sticky side out, to make sure that we pick up any little magnet particles that may have lodged in here or gotten stuck during cleaning, during speaker operation, or any areas that any number of factors where the magnet particles can kind of get in there. And they tend to want to live right in this area because that's where the strength of the two magnet plates comes together, providing the drive for the speaker voice coil. So we're going to clean this area out. Just take your sticky masking tape like this. Usually we'll take a business card like this, okay, and we'll put the sticky tape, sticky side out, right on the magnet, or right on the business card, sticky side out like this, and run it through the magnet gap, kind of pressing to the inside to grab any debris that may have built up. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? And this is important with any recone that you do. All right, and you'll see you are going to pick up some dirt and just dust and just stuff. So we want to make sure that we do that a couple of times. We can flip the tape over, do it one more time this way. Again, just spinning the speaker like this, pressing to the inside. Then I'll run a spin on it and kind of press to the outside, okay, to grab any dirt and dust that's on the magnet gap. Keep fresh tape handy. Do it a couple of times as needed all the way around. Now sometimes I'll stick two pieces of tape together to make it a little bit thicker, alright, and that helps grab more. So there's a little more resistance in there now because there's more width on the tape depending on the magnet gap that you're working on with your speaker. You may or may not need to do that. Alright, just showing you kind of the different scenarios that come into play there. Alright, so that's what we want. Alright, and I'm pretty confident that that's good, but what I want to do is I want to check it. So it's nice to have a bright flashlight handy, something like this, and kind of get in there and just eyeball that all the way around carefully to make sure that you didn't miss anything. One little particle in there is going to cause all kinds of problems for you. So we want to get all that cleaned all the way around, and this looks great. So we're ready to go here with the installation of the new voice coil. We're going to pop that in there here in just a second. I want to show you how that works, okay? So that's good to go. So make sure you have a flashlight handy for that. Have an old business card or something thin and stiff that you can put your tape on and run it around the magnet gap. That's important. Now, next thing we're going to do here is we're going to take the new voice coil, alright? Usually it's best to kind of handle these just from one edge. If you tend to pick them up with your hand on both sides, especially on the smaller ones, you can tend to make them out around. The JBLs are pretty stout. They have an edge-wound aluminum wire on them, so they're pretty sturdy, but we still like to try to handle them just from one side when at all possible. You've got your two lead-out wires here coming off the voice coil. Obviously, those have to line up with the terminals here on the speaker frame, like that, okay? Alright, so when you get the kit, the Recone kit from us, we send them with a shim, which is the plastic here, and there's a couple of types. You'll either have this long piece that's designed to go all the way around the coil like this, and this is pre-cut for you depending on the diameter of the coil, like this, and occasionally you'll see this type, which are strips that come in, and those go in like this, all the way around the magnet gap. This kind of show you the different types that are available here, depending on what type of kit you have and that you're working with. Okay, here I put six of them in, kind of equidistant around the magnet gap here. Your voice coil, obviously, you'll line the terminals up like we discussed with you there to the terminal or the lead wires here, and you see how that kind of slides in there, just like that, and kind of stays snug in that area. That's one type. We'll show you the type with the solid one because that's a little bit more common, and then we'll also show you about setting the height out here as well. So I'll remove this. Again, that was just more for a visual than anything else, depending on what type of kit you have. So these will come back out. We'll come in here with the long type. Make sure you keep the dust and debris off of it. Everything's clean in the magnet. And I like to do them where the gap in the shim is 180 degrees off of the terminals here. We'll Bring our coil in like this, set it in place. You'll see how that slides right in there. It's kind of snug, but it's not too tight. And this is how the coil moves, as you can kind of see here when the speaker is operational. So that's what the shim does. It kind of locks everything up for you and makes sure that it's centered so there's no rubbing between the magnet plate on the outside, which is the top plate, or the pull piece on the inside, which is this piece. All right. Now, on the original cone kit, when we took it apart, we had you take a little piece of the spider out so you could kind of see the height of it. The new voice coil that's used on this particular kit is just a little bit, it's got a little bit more winding width on it than the old one, so we like to set it up just a little bit higher than the original one here, about 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch above the top plate out here is what you want. If the camera can kind of see that angle there, and kind of point to that area to show you. Every speaker is a little bit different in regard to that, and it's very important when you take the old kit out that you save the piece so that you can kind of compare notes from the old parts to the new parts, because sometimes they do change slightly when updates are done to the coil assemblies and things of that nature. So in this case, that's where we want it. I'll take the lead wires and fold them over tight like this. The flat wires, that kind of keeps the coil from dropping. Now it's locked in place. That's where you want it, okay? Nice and even all the way around. All right, it's centered properly. The height is set right here, as I showed you. Okay, now a good thing to do at this point, or at this time, is to take the spider, and we'll get an idea of where the spider kind of sits in play here. Just kind of tuck this in place here like that. All right, and you'll see how that fits in there, which is nice. Make sure that that fits properly. We have the cone assembly like this. Occasionally these are a little tight in here to fit around the voice coil, so you always want to kind of check your measurements there. Do a dry run. This is what we're doing. We're kind of putting everything together without gluing it just to see how everything fits. All right, and that's what you're looking for. Got a nice little area here for the glue bond right in this area as well for the voice coil epoxy when we get to that here in a minute. If you have to, if this is a little bit snug, you can take an awl. Just kind of open it up just a little bit like this. Doesn't take much, and that'll give you just a little bit more diameter on the neck of the cone so that it slides properly. You want a little bit of wiggle in there like this so that when you apply the adhesive, we get a nice good bond in there, and the adhesive kind of soaks underneath the edge of the cone and attaches this point here very strong all the way around, okay, on the voice coil there. So another reason we save the old cutout assembly here is so we can see how far up the lead wires are. These are not pre-punctured for you for the lead out wires, so we take a look at that. In this case, it's just a little bit over 1 inch. So we'll come in here with the new cone, and we'll come up about the same amount here. Pick a point on the cone, doesn't really matter where, and we'll do a couple little punctures there with our awl, just like that. And this is where the lead wires will flow through. When we get to that point, the lead wires come out of this area, okay, like this. So just kind of giving you a visual there. Another thing I like to do, and that we always do here at the shop when we do them, is we like to put a date on the cone so we know when the unit was done. So we'll go ahead and date that for today, just so we know if the unit comes back in what date we actually did the repair on. That's kind of helpful for us here at the shop. So in this case, we've done a dry run. We know our spider fits properly. We know our coil is set right. We've got our lead wires ready to go. The lead wire holes for the new wires are set right there to line up with the terminals, and this one's good to go. What I'd like to do at this point is we'll go ahead and just kind of pull the cone back out. We'll pull the spider back out, all right, and then we're going to run some adhesive right in here. And in this case, if you have your own adhesive, fine. If you purchase our adhesive, we use the clear tube adhesive. The 30-35 adhesive is used here just like this, right along this spider area, all the way around, and I'll show you that. Another thing I want to kind of bring up too, especially on the JBL frames, is you'll see the screws here that attach the frame to the magnet plate. We always want to double check those, because a lot of times in operation, just from the vibration and use of the speaker, they get loose. So we want to tighten those now before the spider goes in place, and that's important. And you see a couple of these are needing to be tightened. Okay, so we go through and do that. All right, double check those. That's good. Now, not all speakers have that type of design, but the JBLs do. So it's good on the JBLs always to double check that before you proceed with attaching the spider here. So what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and we'll get our glue ready. We'll apply the adhesive onto the spider landing on the frame right here. Keep a rag handy for this. And it takes just about 1/8 of an inch here all the way around, just like this. Kind of takes a second to get used to the squeeze of the tube here. Kind of come along, squeeze from the back of the tube. Nice even bead. You want to get plenty of adhesive here so that once this dries, this is a strong bonding point for the operation of the speaker. Cap that back off, come back in, set the spider in place. Hear me kind of pushing it down with my thumb there. Get it where it needs to go, and you can see the adhesive starting to kind of soak through the spider material here. That's what you want. That means you've got enough adhesive there. I usually take a coffee stirrer stick or something similar, kind of press the adhesive, the spider down into the adhesive all the way around. You can spin the speaker just like this, which works great. You can use your fingertip to do the same thing, but it gets a little messier that way. I will come in and kind of wipe up any excess here as I'm working around, just so that we have a nice clean job when we're done. Just like that. Any excess that's coming off of there, wipe that up. Keep a rag handy for that. It'll be good. Alright, now this needs to set for a little while, so we'll make sure that this sets up probably for the better part of an hour or so. And then we'll come back and we'll show you how to set the cone assembly, do the epoxy, and then once that dries up, we'll go ahead and run the lead wires for you. We'll cap and dome the speaker, and you'll be all set. But this is the first step to getting everything ready to go on these. And when we come back after this dries for about an hour, we'll show you the following setups on it, and we'll get this one done. Alright, so we're back, and we let this dry for about an hour. Hour or two, you know, is a good amount of time for that for you. The spider's attached properly to the frame now. Next thing we'll do is we'll set the cone in place, and you'll see it fits right in here just like this. Alright, that's what we're going to have when we're all done with everything. So we need to glue this at a couple of points. We're going to use our special two-part epoxy here on this area. We use our 30-35 glue along the top edge of the frame here, and I'll show you how that's done. And then once that dries up, we can do the lead wires and do the edge treatment and set the gasket, and we'll be all set, and we'll do the dome and all that at the same time. So we'll use the two-part epoxy that comes with our kit, which is this, or that we sell separately. If you purchase this works very well because it comes with a couple of mixing nozzles. It'll do about 4 to 6 of these speakers with one of these, so it works out real well. So we'll just go ahead and open this up and get this ready to go. And you'll see what happens here. It comes with the mixing nozzle here attached, a little break-off point, a little cap to seal it back up when you're done. Just kind of move that out of the camera angle there. Take the tip that we'll need here, snap this cap off here like this, and the hardener and the resin are set up in this plunger applicator, which comes in very handy for doing this type of work so that we can get the nozzle in nice and tight there for the voice coil attachment to the cone. So we'll go ahead and get this put together. Just like that, and now we're ready. As you can see, we can kind of start to push that, and it comes through the nozzle and mixes through these turbines as it comes through, and when it comes out, it's ready to go right here at the tip, which works out very well. And this is disposable, so once this dries up, take it off. You have another one you can use if you need to later. So this is a great way to do this, and it works perfectly for these attachment areas on the coils of the Recone kits. So we'll have that set aside for that. We're going to be using the clear adhesive along the edge here to attach the fabric surround of the cone to the frame here. That's this part along here, so we'll do that for you at the same time. I like to do them both together, so we're going to apply a bead of epoxy right here along the neck or along the inside edge of the spider here in the coil former. So we'll do that first, and then while that's setting up, we'll go ahead and apply our adhesive to the frame. So we're going to just kind of slowly plunge this out like this. Alright, just kind of work this around, about 1/8 of an inch or so, right in this area, what you need. Do one bead of it there first, and then I kind of stop with my squeezing on the plunger there, and then I just like to kind of let the tip rest in there and spin it one more time to kind of spread and distribute the epoxy evenly there, and that's the look that you're after there. Keep a rag handy so you can keep the tip of that clean, right there. And that's what you're after. You see that it's in there appropriately all the way around the edge of the cone. And then what I'll do next is we'll apply the 30-35 adhesive here to the top frame, right along the edge of the frame there, about 1/8 of an inch bead, maybe 3/16 of an inch, somewhere in there, one time around, just like that. Alright, so now we have our adhesive here ready to go, all the way around, and we have our adhesive on the frame all the way around ready to go. So now we can set the cone in place. I'm going to kind of turn it so the lead wires are facing me. Make sure your eyelet holes, or your holes for your lead wires here on the cone, are straight with the terminals here and the lead wires on the coil. And we'll set this in place just like this. Kind of give it a little pressure down and a little turn evenly all the way around. You can see the adhesive soaking through the fabric on the surround here. That's what you want there. Kind of set that in place like that. The epoxy gives you about a 10 to 15 minute work time. It says 5 minutes on the container, but it's actually longer than that, which is nice. That way if you need to make a little adjustments, you can. And you don't have to worry about working too quickly here, so you have time to work with the materials. And you can see what we've got going here. I've got the lead wire holes straight with this mounting hole here, which is straight with the terminal. I'll lift it up this way so you can see it here, all the way across, so everything lines up nicely. And then what we'll do is we'll do one more bead of the epoxy right along the top here, right in this little groove. Just like this. Okay? Nice and even. Spin the speaker and press the plunger on the epoxy evenly all the way around. Just like that. One time is all you need. Okay? So now we can set that aside. We're done with that for now. And the epoxy you can just let sit. This will just kind of dry up as the resin and the hardener kind of work together, and that's fine. So you don't have to worry about that right now. We're good to go. We're going to let this sit up just like this here for about probably about an hour or so. You can use your coffee stir to kind of do this, to press the adhesive down in here if you like as well. That's helpful. Or you can use the tip of your finger if you like. That's a little bit messier, so it's kind of nice to have a little tool like this to use, as you can see as we're doing here. And that's pressing in and starting to tack up nicely there. The epoxy's fine. It's good where it needs to be. Just kind of spread this out like that. And we'll let this sit up for about an hour. We'll come back. We'll show you the lead wire soldering and how to dress the lead wires, install the cap, treat the edge of the cone, and install the gasket. And we'll be close to being done on this one. Alright, so we've let this dry up now for about an hour, hour and a half, somewhere in that range is good. The epoxy dries within about 10 to 15 minutes as far as a working time on it. It's better to let it set a little longer and be safe there. You can see, if we take our awl, you can see that it's hardened up pretty good for us there now. Our surround adhesive is dry here as well. So at this point we can go ahead and concentrate on the lead wires here that come off from the voice coil. The kits that we sell for the Recone kits will have a length of the flexible high-powered lead wire with them here that is going to be soldered and connected out to the terminals this way through the holes we made in the cone earlier for you. So we'll show you that. The first thing we want to do is just kind of bend these wires back out of the way a little bit. Yours may look a little different than this. Most of the JBLs and speakers with edge-wound coils will have this wide, flat lead-out wire, we call that, or lead-out, coming from the voice coil there. So we'll kind of bend that down against the cone. Just use finger pressure for that. That's fine. You'll see it kind of just bends down and tight against the cone. Then what I like to do is just take the wire snippers here and just kind of cut in right there where you have about 1/4 inch of that showing. I'm using the cutters to kind of show you how I can tuck that down in there and make a nice little spot for soldering of the flex wire. So we'll do both of these that way, just like this. Okay, and those extra pieces of wire are discarded. Those are no longer needed. Alright, so again, we've got the shim is still in place here to kind of hold things while we work. We'll take that out here in just a little bit. Alright, so that's what you want there. Okay, just like that. So what we'll do is we'll come in here with our lead wire, which is right here, and we'll just kind of take the piece that we have that came with the kit. We'll just cut that in half. Okay, so we have two about 6-inch pieces there, which is plenty of length to get out to the terminals here and here. Alright, the first thing we'll do though is we'll just do our soldering right on top of the cone. I'm going to remove the shim so you can see what's going on there a little bit easier from the camera angle. We'll just kind of pull that out of place. The shim is no longer needed. You can see we have nice free movement here with our assembly. Alright, and that's what the shim does for us, and then we're pretty much good to go. This feels nice and clean. Alright, that's what you need. You see it's nice, there's nothing rubbing in here, everything moves freely, and that's how it's supposed to work. So what we'll do is with our soldering iron is we'll come in here, I'll take a little length of solder, we'll just kind of melt that off of there, so we have a little piece of solder to work with like this. I like to tin both of these lead out areas first, just like this. Do them both at the same time. Okay, that's the look you're after right there. Okay, and what you can do is you can pre-tin your wires, or what I find works just as well is just come in here with your lead wires, put your iron tip right back in that area, press your lead wires, and then come in right from the top, give it a little spin so that everything heats up and welds in nicely there for you. With the solder, you're going to have to hold that for a moment or two. You don't want to move that so that you get a cold solder joint there, so pay attention to that. Alright, that's what you want to do. And we'll do the other one the same way. We'll kind of come in, feed a little bit more solder on there. We'll get our lead wire in place there. And this will effectively tin the wire as well and create a nice solid joint for us right in there, as you can see. Alright, so that's what you want. Let's let that set up for a moment or two. Which is good to go there. Okay, that's the look you're after. Alright, the wires are sticking out. They're attached here to both these points. Okay, good to go. We'll come back. We'll filter the wires right through the holes in the cones, carefully like this. Alright. And I'm using my other hand to go behind the cone to just kind of grab the wire and gently pull it out there. Alright, just like this. Okay. If you see that's a little bit crooked there, if you want, you can kind of come in and straighten that out a little bit, just for appearance at that point. It won't affect the function of the speaker in any way. Okay, so that we have a good connection point here and a good connection point here. Alright, so that's where we're at with that. We'll do the doming here in just a moment. Okay, the dome will go in like this. We'll do some black adhesive treatment along the lead wires. We'll do the black doming adhesive all at the same time there for you. But what I'd like to show you next, before we put the gasket back on this model, is it's easier to do the edge treatment here with the white polyvinyl treatment that we have for the fabric surrounds. Alright, we need to apply that treatment to this edge to seal it so that it doesn't leak air and that it provides a good seal all around the speaker cone. So what we'll do is we'll just open this up. It's easiest on these to just kind of poke a hole right in the center. Use your awl, thumbtack, something long and kind of thin. Don't cut the tip of this off, because then that allows too much of a flow of the adhesive. So just come in here like this. I don't know if the camera can kind of see that there, but that's what you want. Just like that. Just poke a hole in the tip of the glue that we provide you there, and then you can come in, and I usually start right on the outside edge here, just like this. Spin the speaker, let the tip of the glue kind of, or the tip of the sealer, do the work there for you. Kind of come in like this, squeeze that out. Try to get it as evenly as possible, even as possible around the cone, just like this. Then what I like to use is just a 1-inch wide, kind of an Econo brush, Home Depot, Lowe's special kind of thing, like this. It works perfectly. Anything you have around the house, small paintbrush or something like that will work great. And then I just lightly let the brush do the work right in here, and this is spreading the sealer all around the edge. And I usually come back in here like this and run a little bit extra right down onto the cone. And as you can see, we have some bare spots here, some thin spots, so we'll do a little bit more of an adhesive treatment in here for the sealer right in this area. Okay. This takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's not really too difficult. And now we have a little bit extra on there where you're painting it. And it's easier to move the speaker than it is to try to brush around the speaker, so that you get a nice finish all the way around, just like this. And once that dries, that'll dry clear and kind of shiny, a little bit tacky. But that'll provide the seal for the surround. And that's what you're after, is this kind of a look right here. Okay? Spin the speaker, that really helps you out there. And then we'll do a little bit of edge treatment right on the outside the way that this particular speaker is designed is there's a sharp kind of an edge on the surround that bends down and towards the frame. So it's easier to do this before you put the gasket on so that you can kind of work the brush around just like you see me doing here. Alright, you can see, don't worry about these couple of thin spots. We'll go back and touch those up here in just a second. A lot of times just working the brush and the action of the brush a little bit will kind of help spread that out. Alright, that's what you want to do right there. Okay, another little thin spot there. We'll just kind of work that in. Again, just kind of like painting. And that's what you're after. Okay, that's the look that you want. Just like that. This will dry clear all the way around and all the way to the outside. We'll do our gasket last around the outside. We'll put our 4 sections in here. We'll use the 30-35 glue for that when we're ready. But now we're ready to do the dome. Everything is good. There's no need to let that dry now. We can do the doming right now at this time. So same thing, we'll take the special black adhesive that's used for treating the lead wires here, and it's also for applying the dome because there's no glue lip on this dome. The gluing is done from the top, and I'll show you how that's done. So we'll go ahead and same thing, we'll go ahead and puncture the tip of the glue just like this. Works better than cutting the tip. Okay, so we're just poking that in there. You can, again, use a thumbtack or something sharp like that is fine. And that's what you want. You get a little hole right in the glue like that. I'm going to do a little bit of the black wire dressing right here. Just like this. Okay. All the way across to kind of tighten that down. Once that dries, that'll tighten that area down right there along the wires to the coil so that that doesn't vibrate or fail due to vibration. So we'll set our bottle aside, we'll come back in here, we've got our dome. Just basically take the dome and hand center it right on top like this, and this is what you're after, okay? Just like this. If you press down a little bit right in there, it'll kind of groove it out with the paper so it kind of compensates for the wires being there, or you can notch that out a little bit if you like, which works well also. So we'll set this in place. Now we need to find a weight of some kind to set in place here to kind of hold this down nice and tight while we do the gluing. So what I like to use is just a big nut like this. Pick something like that up at Home Depot or Lowe's, any hardware store, something that's fairly substantial to kind of hold that in place, just like that. Alright, so everything is centered. We've just kind of done that by eye. You can move that around as you need to. Just kind of eyeball it to make sure that it's centered all the way around with the first rib on the cone here. And at this point, we're ready to go. We're going to apply the black adhesive right in this area and do the lead wires at the same time, all in one step for you. So we'll start over here. Usually I'll start right where one of the lead wires is here. Make sure the glue is down in the tip where you want it. And we're going to squeeze gently and turn the speaker all at the same time. See what we're doing here? Just like this. Come up and over the lead wires, just like that. Alright. Once that dries, it'll dry and it'll tighten up and sink in and dry into the cone very nicely. I'll try to do this where the camera can see it here for you. Okay, to dress the lead wires. Come up just like that. Try to make it pretty so that it's got a nice finish on it when you're done. Looks like you know what you're doing. Okay, so you come up in here like this. Alright. Now, that's what you're after right there. Now I can't lift the speaker up to show you because I don't want the weight to fall off. I kind of can do it. I'll just kind of give you a little tilt there like that. Alright, that's what you want to do. Once this dries for about an hour or so, this will all tighten in here very nicely, and we can go ahead, put our gaskets on. The gaskets will just be done with an adhesive right here, and that'll be allowed to set up for about an hour or so, and then we can go ahead and bring in our test leads and run some frequencies through it and make sure she's good to go. We also will be soldering this area here for you as well to show you how that works. So we're good to go on that. We'll let this sit for a little while, and we'll come back and finish it up for you. Alright, so we've allowed this to dry up for a couple of hours now, and you can see that all of our originally kind of white vinyl treatment on the surround is clear. It's dried now. This is what you're after. This is what it looks like when it's done. The black dust cap glue here has dried in nice and tight. Everything looks good. We'll remove our weight from the dust cap now. And the last thing we need to do here before testing is we'll attach the lead wires to the terminals on the frame here. I hope the camera can kind of see that angle there. So we're good. I'll kind of turn it back around on my side so I can do what I need to do over here. We'll fish the lead wires through the holes. Use a small pair of needle nose pliers for that. And we leave a little bit of slack there, of course, so that the cone can flex without damaging the wires by pulling on them, which would cause them to break prematurely. And this is what you want here, is just a little bit of a curve up and down into this area, just like this. Right through here. Here's what the other side looks like. You can see that area there. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll solder both of these points up real fast. I'll turn it back around and show that to you, and we'll snip off the excess there. And we should be good to go. We'll go ahead and get that done here for you. Kind of bend down and work this area here. Let the solder or the heat of the gun do the work for you, so you don't get a cold solder joint. We're good there. Alright. Set that back aside. And that's what you're after. Nice and clean. Both sides. Done. We'll just snip off the excess there. Just like that. Throw the extra away. And that's what you're after. That's what you want right there. Allow the cone to flex. You don't want to make them too long, and you don't want to make them too short. So you got to just kind of get an eyeball for that and make sure that it's not going to slap the cone and cause noise and cause premature failure or be too short. So that's the look that you're after there. The speaker's pretty much ready to go. We'll apply a bead of adhesive up here to install the gasket. We have another unit that we did earlier today that's finished that we'll show you for testing. We'll just run a couple signals through it real fast for you just to show you how that works. Again, that part's pretty optional. You don't really need to do that. But if you have a signal generator, that's always helpful, or you can go online and download some tones. So we'll go ahead and install our gasket here, making sure we line up the mounting holes. There's 8 mounting holes in the frame. We've got 8 notches in the 4 sections of gasket here to allow for that. These will set into place just like this. Alright, we'll check our holes here, make sure that we're lined up properly as we come around. Alright, just like that. Okay, you kind of use your hands to kind of press that down in. And normally what we'll do is we'll flip the speaker over and allow it to dry for another hour or so. Just kind of do one of these to give you an idea. Let the weight of the speaker set down and press the gasket in place. You can see our lead wires from this angle here as well, right here on the backs of the terminals that are trimmed and cut that we just showed you. So this unit's pretty much ready to go. Alright, get a little bit of extra glue there, just kind of wipe that up. So that's the finished product. That's what you're after right there on the full Recone on the JBL 2226. And we sell the Recone kits on our website, or you can send them in to us and we'll do them professionally here for you as well. So we can help you either way on that. I'm going to set this one kind of out of the way. We'll bring in the other one that we did earlier. Same thing. Did this one earlier for you. And we'll hook up some signal generator wires here. We have a signal generator sitting off to the side of the table here that you can't see in the camera view. And what we'll do is we'll run a couple of signals through so you can kind of see the connection point there, just like that. Just use the spring terminals on the wires there from the amplifier, and this gives you an idea how we test these when they're done. We just run a series of frequencies through them like this, just to make sure everything's clean in the way you need it, and that's what you want right there. Nice clean operation, no rubs, buzzes, or distortion, and you are done.